Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven, and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some malicious compliance stories, and our first story of the day is by MXTHMN88. Amazon customer service agent gets last laugh. Some backstory needed, but I was hired on to A to Z. You know the company, they have a prime website. Work from home in the fall of 2015, and our whole purpose was to handle the massive influx of calls stemming from Black Friday and Cyber Monday, etc. etc. Anywho, there are some goodies from there, but they don't really fit here. Fast forward to February of 2016, and I'm hired on fully perm, not just seasonal and during the winter craziness. My team lead put my name on the list for a newly created call queue titled Concessions Abuse. I was in heaven. I have tough skin and kept running a tally of all the Christmases I ruined. So I did the training, but if the user was flagged as an abuser, they were sent to me and a crew of 20 others, all like me. We were the end of the line. If you got me, I had the power to close and lock your account, among other things. Okay, now to the story of malicious compliance. Random day number 532, call of day number who bloody knows. I get my favorite entitled man Karen, I'll call him EMK and I'll be me. Thank you for calling A to Z customer service, how can I help you today? Entitled man Karen, shrill, loud and obnoxious. I need my refund now. I have been waiting forever. Where is my money? Oh man, I'm so sorry. Let me look into this for you. Can I have your address, phone number, and zip code to verify your account, please? Freaking heck, fine. Address, zip, phone number. It's the order with the 2 MacBook Airs. I need that refund today. Okay, no problem, sir. I will look right into it. Mind if I put you on hold? No, you won't. Cut him off. I put him on hold. Now I dig into this account, and it's just full of refunds and concessions, like free months of free shipping, etc, etc. Just all bad. I find the order that's less than 4 weeks old, and he started the return and so on and so forth, printed the return label, and sent them back. But the refund should have been automatic and in his account by now, $11,000, so I dig deeper and track the package back to our receiving and return center and boom, found a note. I click back over to entitled man Karen. It seems we have received the laptops and there has been some issue as to the count. Entitled man Karen cuts me off. See, now give me my refund right now. I demand to speak to a supervisor. The magic words. I am the supervisor, and your account has been flagged for abuse. If you would like the funds sent to you, we are going to request that you send the actual laptops and not bags of sand. I have no idea what you're talking about. I want my money right now. You're a liar and a thief. Mother freaking N-words all stealing stuff. I have a deep voice and some people mistake me for being of the darker side. Now at this point, per my training, I am required to do some things. 1. Pull his info. 2. Fill a form that will lead to a police report being filed. 3. Close the account. The issue is this man was an authorized user on an account controlled by what looks like small business orders of office-supplied ECT. Turns out the credit cards on the account are business cards. So I also sent an email with all the information regarding the closure and why there was no refund issued, and that a police report was filed to all of the active emails attached to the account. Okay, sir, thank you for holding. I have now emailed you and everyone on the account with all the information going forward. Your account is being locked and closed, and we have also contacted your local PD, filing a police report. Thank you for being the best part of A to Z, and have a nice day. Aftermath. The owner of the company responded to my email the next day and informed me that entitled man Karen was no longer employed and did not have permission to buy the laptops to begin with and was trying to get them returned to save his job. Well, that didn't work. Turns out the owner took all of our info and the police report to charge him with grand theft. Beyond that, I have no idea what happened, but I do know we got a package with 2 new MacBook Airs. Let's see how many people are honest about this one. Has anybody ever lied about a return on an online website, whether it was an entire return or because you claimed it was malfunctioning in some way? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Daydreamer0181, My Dad's Mic Drop Moment. Okay, as the title says, this was not my own malicious compliance, but my dad's. I was the subject of it, however, and had a front row seat through the whole thing. Now for the background to understand what happened. This happened almost 30 years ago, but this story is to this day my favorite story about my dad. I was 13 at the time and in the 8th grade, and this was a Thursday on the way to lunch. Both are important later. I had ended up in a fight at school because I did something stupid without realizing it until afterwards. If people want, I can give details later, but they aren't really needed to the malicious compliance. All that needs to be known is I did not throw the first punch and tried to walk away from the fight early on. This got me jumped from behind, and it was only because of a gym teacher that I wasn't more badly hurt. After the fight was broken up, both the other kid and I had to write down our versions of what happened, as apparently so did many witnesses, both teachers and students. A nurse had looked me over, and all I had was some bruises. Then came the waiting game. Obviously, with a fight, our parents were called. In my case, my dad came. At the time, this worried me a little because normally my mom took care of the things if the school called. Her job was much more flexible time-wise, so it just worked out better that way. Well, that day, my dad came instead. I don't remember why. He got there before the other kids' parents, so we were taken into the principal's office. We both sat down, and I'm terrified. We all know that look of when a parent looks civil, but is just waiting to go nuclear. That was the look on my dad's face when he walked in. I was convinced I was dead kid walking. I don't dare say a word, convinced that will just set my dad off sooner. So I sit there as the principal runs my dad through a thorough and more accurate retelling of what happened than I was expecting. While this is going on, my dad is miraculously, at least from my point of view, coming down. I was a second family for my parents. With much older siblings, my dad felt and still does that there are times to fight and times to walk away. And as the principal is talking, he apparently realized I had behaved the way he wanted me to in those situations. It was to the point that when the principal finished her retelling of what happened and explained that I hadn't lied to try and make myself look better, and that my story matched up with all the witness statements and the other boys too, my dad just looked at me and nodded. I was floored. I had no idea what was going to happen next, but if Dad wasn't mad anymore, I could roll with the rest. Sorry for the long setup, but here's what does the compliance. It was clear on my dad's face now that he thought the school was just covering their bases, and he seemed more than willing to let them. That was until the principal stated that by the school police, I was to be sent home for the rest of the day and receive a 1-day suspension for the next day, Friday. This enraged my dad. She had flat out stated I had both acted in self-defense and tried to end the fight, so he demanded to know why I was being punished with a suspension and what was going to happen to the other kid. She explained that it was simply school policy and her hands were tied. My dad would tell me later that he thought she was full of it. As for the other boy, he was to be given a 10-day suspension. Now, my dad didn't argue, and I was just trying to stay out of the way and watch. So I was surprised when my dad turned to me and said, "So what do you want on your pizza?" Pizza was and will always be my favorite food. I was floored with no idea what to say. Apparently this was clear on my face because my dad continued, "If they're going to give you a 3-day weekend, you might as well have a pizza and some movies to enjoy." Even as I began to smile so big my face hurt, the principal said, "What? I'm sorry, what did you say?" My dad just as quickly replied very matter-of-factly, "Well, from what you told me, my son did nothing wrong and handled the situation as well as could be expected. You may be bound by school policy and have to suspend him, but since he behaved just as his mother and I raised him to, I see no reason for his suspension to be a punishment. I, in fact, want to encourage what I believe is appropriate behavior in my son. Now, if you'll excuse me, since he is suspended and hasn't eaten lunch, I'm going to feed my son." With that, he stood up and walked out the door, with me right behind him. I didn't even look back. Fallout: my dad did get me a pizza for lunch, and we stopped off at a movie place to rent a few movies and video games for me. He took me and my bounty home and snagged a couple of slices for himself when he talked to my mom on the phone. She agreed with him completely, and so I never got in any real trouble for the fight at him. As for the other kid, I don't know much about what happened to him. We didn't have any classes together until our junior year, 11th grade for anyone who doesn't know the term. First day of that year, he pulled me aside and apologized to me. He also told me, although he kept it vague and I didn't push, that the fight had led to things improving in his home life. It was nice to know that something good had come out of it, even if to this day I don't know the details. I know it isn't a major FU to anyone like some acts of malicious compliance, but to me at the time, it was epic, and I still find it funny today. I just think that's a role model dad right there. They heard out exactly what happened, and they knew that OP did truly the right thing in that situation, what anybody should do, so they're not gonna punish you for that. Just because the school's dumb and gave you a suspension doesn't mean that you should have to actually get punishment because you defended yourself in a fight. Our next story is by Kate Out of Space. You have to pay for that. So I was talking to a friend about my days working at the Golden Arches and remembered this. Now, I was hired when I was 18, older than the usual crew, but could work the overnight 10-11 p.m. to 7 a.m. On these shifts, there's usually only a kitchen crew member, me, and a manager on with a service staffer only sometimes. These shifts were a little unpredictable and could go from dead quiet for hours, then 2 cars at once want 80 nuggets and like 6 quarter-pounders each, or large sporadic rushes, particularly on the Friday/Saturday nights around 2 to 3 a.m. Now, most managers were pretty chill. Let me listen to my music and eat on shift rather than take a solid break, as that left them to take, cook, and serve the orders alone. They didn't make me pay for it, as I was doing them a favor by gradually taking my meal break while still working. A new manager, I'll call her Dumb Nugget, came on board and decided that they were going to be a stickler for the rules, and explicitly told me that if I didn't pay for food that I was stealing, and that they would issue me a warning. So the first day with them, I paid, but took a break and sat down with the food I bought, only for a big order to come through, and them to demand my help before releasing me back to my break. Managers at my store had 5 overnights in a row, then several days off, so I had Dumb Nugget the following night, and the shift went as normal till 2:30 when I took my break, cooked a McChicken, then yelled out to make sure I put it through and paid for it, and to leave the receipt on the counter. They were counting stock or something about it and didn't trust me. Anyways, did that and sat down in the dining section to eat, when sure enough, we got 8 cars in the drive-thru full of drunk, hungry people. Cue malicious compliance. They're putting through the orders to the kitchen and I just sit and watch the screen fill up and go over the page, nibbling on my food, enjoying not being on my feet. When they come screaming at me, "Why aren't you making the orders? This car has been waiting for over 5 minutes and nothing is ready." I just replied that I was on my break, and as I wasn't on the clock, I didn't need to make the orders. They yelled some more about how I was being rude and that I should be working and helping the store, aka them. As I was making the store, them look bad to the customers for having to wait. I just said something like, "Well, don't have them wait any longer," and went back to my burger. Did this the rest of the overnights we had together, and they got madder each time, getting stuck doing it all by themselves. It was quite entertaining. Now, while I did enjoy their own sticking to the rules, causing them trouble, after Dumb Nugget was done with their overnights, I told them how they're gonna want to give Dumb Nugget the what's up as to staff food on shift, or all their overnights are going to suck. Apparently they talked, because next time with them, they didn't make me pay and things were a lot smoother for them from there on out. I guess to some managers, eating on the job could maybe be seen as pretty unsightly, but it's a night shift, nobody's really going to pay attention anyways. Honestly, there's a bunch of constructive ways to handle this if there's even a disagreement. Going to extremes like the manager did, not so much a great idea. And our final story of the day is by Like and Jedi. You don't want me to waste my time by following procedures? Okay. I worked at, for legal reasons, let's call it Walmart myself, and I freaking hated the spill rule. Here's the thing. If you don't follow spill procedure, you get witched out. If you do, you get witched out for wasting time. For context, for those that have the absolute blessing of never working the heck that is Walmart, procedure states that you have to wait by the spill until another associate comes by. If it's a bad spill, you're supposed to help clean up the spill. I've got millions of Walmart horror stories, and this is one of many. We had a customer knock about 3 glasses off the shelf, breaking them. Per procedure, I waited by the spill. The next 10 minutes, should I to back room? Over and over and over and over on the intercom. It must have been announced about 4 times in under 5 minutes. For context, I pulled pallets of freight from the back room to the sales floor, so it wasn't life-threatening, I knew. Finally, another associate sees me, gets a broom, and we clean up the spill. As soon as I get to the back room, my supervisor witched me out saying, "You are needed here, not out there. You leave that to the sales team." The next day when I came in, I was written up for wasting time. When I explained what had happened, I was again told, "Well, next time you should just leave it." You see where this is going, right? That sweet, sweet malicious compliance. About a week later, we had a new guy working chem. Now, with backroom, we have to pull everything off trucks and stack it on pallets. Then pull those to the floor. He starts to pull the most unstable pallet I've ever seen. Thing was leaning before he left. He pulls it to the sales floor and gets all the way to chem with me behind him when it goes. Boxes on boxes fall and laundry detergent and fabric softener go everywhere. We're talking at least 7 bottles worth all over the floor and quickly into the women's apparel section. I pull my pallet around and keep walking. As I'm coming back, I see him standing there. Looking back, I feel bad for doing this, but at that moment, I didn't give a single solitary freak. I said, "You'll need some speedy dry, ask Richard," our supervisor who witched me out, fake name, for some, and walked away. When management asked why I didn't help, I straight up told them, "You told me not to worry about spills, that I should leave it for others, and you wrote me up. I'm just following your instructions." I didn't get written up and never got witched at again for following procedures. Sounds about right for a manager of Walmart. Usually you want your managers to be understanding and somewhat caring people. This, definitely not that. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.